The afternoon sunlight filtered through the windows of Cornerstone Cafe, painting golden squares across the polished wooden tables. Every seat was occupied, the space filled with the comfortable hum of conversation and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. It was the kind of place where freelancers claimed tables for hours, where business meetings happened over cappuccinos, where the city's busy professionals carved out small moments of peace. Gabriel Martinez sat at a corner table, his laptop open, a half-eaten burger growing cold beside his coffee cup. At 34, he had built a successful career as a software consultant, commanding high fees for his expertise. His tailored gray suit spoke of that success, as did the expensive watch on his wrist and the latest model laptop he barely looked away from. He was deep in code, fingers flying across the keyboard, completely absorbed in solving a complex problem for a client. This cafe had become his unofficial office, a place where he could work undisturbed while maintaining the illusion of being social. The staff knew him, knew his usual order, knew to refill his coffee without asking. Gabriel was so focused on his screen that he didn't notice the woman and child who entered the cafe until they were standing right beside his table. "Excuse me," a soft voice said hesitantly. "I'm so sorry to bother you, but every table is full. My daughter is hungry, and I was wondering if we could possibly share your table, just until something else opens up." Gabriel looked up, irritation flickering across his face at the interruption. He saw a young woman who appeared to be in her late 20s, with blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun and tired eyes that held equal parts hope and resignation. She wore a simple white blouse and a black skirt that had seen better days, the fabric slightly worn at the seams. Beside her stood a little girl who couldn't have been more than 4 years old, with straight blonde hair and large blue eyes that looked up at him with innocent curiosity. The child wore a light blue dress that was clean but faded from many washings, and she clutched her mother's hand tightly. Gabriel glanced around the cafe, confirming that every other table was indeed occupied. His table was meant for 4 people, and he was using only one chair, his belongings spread across another. Technically, there was room, but he valued his privacy, his uninterrupted work time. Sharing his table meant conversation, distraction, the possibility of having to engage with strangers when all he wanted was to finish this project. "I'm actually working on something pretty important," Gabriel said, his tone polite but distant. "I need to concentrate. Maybe you could wait for another table to open up." He saw something flicker in the woman's eyes, a brief flash of hurt before she masked it with a practiced smile. "Of course, I understand. Sorry to have bothered you." She turned to leave, gently guiding her daughter away, but the little girl looked back at Gabriel's table, her eyes fixed on the burger he had barely touched. "Mommy, I'm really hungry," the child said, her voice small and plaintive. "Okay, no, sweetheart. We'll find somewhere to sit soon. Maybe we can wait outside and something will open up." Gabriel tried to return to his work, but something nagged at him. He glanced up to see the woman and her daughter standing near the entrance, the mother scanning the crowded cafe with increasing desperation. Other patrons had noticed the exchange, and now several people were pointedly looking away, avoiding eye contact, unwilling to give up their tables. The little girl leaned against her mother's leg, and Gabriel could see her shoulders slump with hunger and disappointment. The mother checked her phone, checked her wallet, her expression tightening with worry. Gabriel returned his attention to his laptop, typing a few lines of code, but his concentration was broken. He kept glancing toward the entrance, watching the woman bend down to speak softly to her daughter, watching the child nod with a maturity that seemed too old for her years. Why did he care? He told himself he didn't. They were strangers. Their situation wasn't his responsibility. He had work to do, deadlines to meet, problems to solve that actually paid his bills. But the image of that little girl's face, looking at his uneaten burger with such longing, wouldn't leave his mind. Gabriel closed his laptop with more force than necessary and stood up. He caught the woman's eye and gestured to his table. Actually, please, sit down. I apologize for being rude. There's plenty of room. Akeda's expression shifted from surprise to cautious relief. Are you sure? We don't want to impose. You're not imposing. Please. The woman guided her daughter to the table, helping her climb into one of the chairs. Up close, Gabriel could see the exhaustion etched in the woman's face. The kind that came from sustained stress rather than just one sleepless night. Her clothes were clean and pressed, but there was a threadbare quality to them that spoke of financial struggle. Thank you, the woman said, settling into her own chair with visible relief. I'm Lauren, and this is my daughter, Olivia. We really appreciate this. Gabriel, he replied, feeling awkward now that he had committed to this interaction. It's no problem. Lauren pulled out a worn wallet and carefully counted the bills inside. Gabriel tried not to watch, but he couldn't help noticing the thinness of the wallet, the way her fingers trembled slightly as she counted. She looked at the menu on the table, her expression falling as she compared prices to available funds. Olivia, honey, what do you want to eat? Lauren asked, her voice bright in a way that felt forced. Can I have a grilled cheese? The little girl asked hopefully. Lauren checked the menu again, calculating. How about we share a grilled cheese? That way, Mommy can have some too. Okay, but you said you already ate lunch, Olivia said with the perceptiveness children sometimes had. I did, but I'm hungry again. Growing girls and their mommies need to share, right? Olivia nodded, though she looked uncertain. Gabriel recognized the lie for what it was. Lauren was going to split one small sandwich with her daughter and pretend she was full, sacrificing her own hunger so her child could eat. When the server came by, Lauren ordered the grilled cheese and the water. She declined coffee, declined anything else. Just the sandwich and water. Gabriel looked at his own barely touched burger, at the fries he had ignored, at the expensive cappuccino he had been sipping for the past hour. The whole meal had cost more than he had thought about, an amount he spent without considering, because money was simply not an issue for him anymore. Excuse me, Gabriel called to the server before she left. Can you also bring a bowl of tomato soup, a side of fruit, and a chocolate milk for the little one, and a coffee for the lady? That's really not necessary, Lauren protested, her cheeks flushing. We're fine with just the sandwich. Consider it a welcome to my table. I'm the one who almost turned you away. Let me make up for that. Lauren looked like she wanted to argue, but hunger and gratitude won out over pride. Thank you. That's very kind. Olivia perked up at the mention of chocolate milk and fruit, her eyes brightening. Mommy, can I really have chocolate milk? Yes, baby. The nice man is sharing with us. As they waited for the food, an uncomfortable silence settled over the table. Gabriel tried to return to his work, but it felt wrong to ignore them completely now. He closed his laptop and took a sip of his coffee. So, what brings you to this neighborhood? He asked, attempting conversation. Lauren smiled tiredly. I had a job interview at an office down the street. It ran long, and I didn't have time to take Olivia home before picking her up from the sitter. I thought we could grab a quick bite before the bus ride back to our side of town. How did the interview go? I don't know. Maybe okay? It's hard to tell. Lauren smoothed Olivia's hair absently, a gesture of affection and anxiety. I've been looking for something stable for 6 months now. My last job was retail, but the store closed. Since then, it's been a string of temporary positions that don't quite pay enough to cover everything. Gabriel nodded, trying to understand a reality so different from his own. That must be difficult. It is what it is. So we manage. Olivia is healthy and happy, and that's what matters. Lauren looked at her daughter with such fierce love that Gabriel felt something twist in his chest. The food arrived, and Olivia's face lit up like it was Christmas morning. She waited politely for her mother to nod permission before digging into the grilled cheese with enthusiasm. Lauren ate slowly, making each bite last. Savoring the soup like it was a gourmet meal, Gabriel found himself pushing his burger across the table. I really can't finish this. Would you mind helping me out? I hate wasting food. Lauren hesitated, pride warring with hunger. Are you sure? Completely sure. Please. She took half the burger, and Gabriel saw her eyes close briefly with relief as she took the first bite. When had she last eaten a proper meal? How long had she been running on empty, giving everything to her daughter while she herself went without? What kind of work are you looking for? Gabriel asked. Anything stable with decent hours and benefits? I have office experience, customer service background, basic computer skills. I'm willing to learn anything. I just need something reliable so I can provide for Olivia and have a schedule I can count on. What about childcare while you work? There's a subsidized program for low-income families, but there's a waiting list. Right now, I have a neighbor who watches Olivia for a reduced rate. She's wonderful, but she can only do certain hours, which limits what jobs I can take. As Lauren talked, Gabriel learned more about her situation. She was 29 years old, had been a single mother since Olivia was 6 months old when her boyfriend decided fatherhood was too much responsibility and disappeared. No child support, no family support. Just Lauren and Olivia against the world. She had been trying to go back to school for a business degree, but had to drop out when financial aid fell through, and she couldn't afford both tuition and rent. She lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, took the bus everywhere because she couldn't afford a car, and worked multiple part-time jobs that left her exhausted, but still struggling to make ends meet. The hardest part isn't even the money, Lauren admitted quietly, glancing at Olivia, who was now contentedly eating fruit. It's the constant stress of knowing that one emergency, one unexpected expense, could unravel everything. The fear that I'm not giving Olivia the stability and opportunities she deserves because I can't seem to get ahead, no matter how hard I try. Gabriel had never really thought about that kind of existence. He had grown up middle class, had worked hard through school, had been blessed with opportunities and talents that led to success. Sure, he had worked for what he had, but he had also started from a place of relative privilege. He had never known what it was like to choose between feeding yourself and feeding your child, or to have your entire future hinge on getting one job interview right. You're doing an amazing job, Gabriel found himself saying. Olivia is clearly loved and well cared for. That takes incredible strength. Lauren's eyes filled with unexpected tears. Thank you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm failing her, if I should be doing more, doing better. You're not failing. You're surviving impossible circumstances. There's a difference. They talked while Olivia finished eating, and Gabriel found himself genuinely interested in Lauren's story. She was intelligent and articulate, with insights about the job market and social services that came from lived experience. She had dreams and ambitions that circumstances had deferred, but not destroyed. When the meal was finished and the bill came, Gabriel handed the server his card before Lauren could even reach for her wallet. Please. You've already shared your food, Lauren protested. Okay? And you shared your table and your story. Consider us even. Stay prepared to leave. Gabriel made a decision that surprised himself. He pulled out one of his business cards and wrote something on the back. This is my direct number. I work with a lot of companies in the tech sector. They're always looking for good people for various positions, not just technical roles, but also administrative, customer service, project coordination. Let me make some calls and see what I can find. No promises, but I might be able to help you get your foot in the door somewhere. Lauren stared at the card like it was made of gold. Why would you do this for us? You don't even know me. Maybe that's exactly why. Sometimes we need to help people precisely because they're strangers, because they're part of our community, even if we've never met before. Gabriel paused, surprising himself with his own words. And maybe because I've been so focused on my own success that forgot there's a whole world of people struggling just to survive. And maybe I have the power to change that for someone. Lauren's voice broke. Thank you. Thank you so much. Gabriel bent down to Olivia's level. You take good care of your mom, okay? She's pretty special. Olivia nodded seriously. I will. Thank you for the chocolate milk. After they left, Gabriel sat back down at his table, but he didn't open his laptop right away. He thought about the encounter, about how close he had come to sending them away, about what he had almost missed by being too absorbed in his own world to see the people around him. He thought about Lauren's determination and grace in the face of circumstances that would have broken many people. He thought about Olivia's innocent hunger and the way her face had lit up at simple kindnesses. He thought about all the other struggling families in this city, invisible to people like him who moved through life, wrapped in a comfortable cocoon of financial security. Gabriel pulled out his phone and started making calls. He had connections, resources, influence. It was time to use them for something that mattered beyond his own profit margins. True to his word, Gabriel spent the next week making inquiries. He reached out to his network, calling in favors, making recommendations. He learned that one of his clients, a growing marketing firm, needed an executive assistant with strong organizational skills and customer service experience. The pay was decent, the benefits were good, and the hours were regular enough to accommodate childcare. Gabriel recommended Lauren enthusiastically, vouching for her character and work ethic based on their brief encounter. He must have been convincing because the company agreed to interview her. He texted Lauren with the information, and she responded with gratitude that made him uncomfortable in its intensity. He hadn't done that much, he told himself, just made a phone call. But he was beginning to understand that sometimes small actions from privileged positions could have enormous impacts on people living on the margins. 3 weeks later, Gabriel was back at Cornerstone Cafe, working at his usual table, when he heard a familiar voice. Gabriel. He looked up to see Lauren standing there, Olivia beside her, holding a small bouquet of grocery store flowers. But Lauren looked different. She wore a professional outfit that fit properly. Her hair was styled, and most notably, the exhaustion in her eyes had been replaced with something that looked like hope. I got the job, Lauren said, her voice trembling with emotion. I start Monday, full-time, with benefits, and the hours work perfectly with the childcare program I finally got into. Gabriel, you changed our lives. Gabriel stood, genuinely pleased. You got the job because you're qualified and capable. I just helped open the door. You walked through it. Can we buy you lunch, please? I got my first paycheck advance, and I want to thank you properly. Gabriel wanted to refuse, but he saw how important this was to her, how much she needed to express her gratitude in a tangible way. Okay, but I'm also ordering dessert, and we're splitting it. Deal. Deal. They sat at the same table where they had first met, but this time the dynamic was different. Lauren was no longer desperate and hungry, but hopeful and grateful. Olivia chattered happily about her new daycare, about the friends she was making, about the art projects she brought home every day. I still can't believe this is real sometimes, Lauren admitted, that I have a stable job with a future, that I can provide for Olivia without constantly worrying about money, that maybe I can even start saving again, maybe go back to school part-time eventually. You deserve all of that and more, Gabriel said. There's something I want you to understand, Lauren said seriously. When we came into this cafe that day, I was at the end of my rope. I had $12 to my name. The job interview had gone badly, I thought. I was hungry and tired and starting to believe I would never get ahead. And then you let us sit down, and you fed us, and you gave me hope when I had almost none left. Okay. She paused, her eyes bright with unshed tears. You didn't have to do any of that. You could have kept working on your laptop and ignored us. Most people did. But you chose kindness, and that choice literally changed the trajectory of our lives. I want you to know that I will never forget that, and when I'm in a position to help someone else, I'll remember your example. Gabriel felt his throat tighten with unexpected emotion. He had spent so much of his adult life focused on achievement, on success measured in dollars and professional recognition. He had told himself that was what mattered. That was how you measured a life well lived. But sitting here with Lauren and Olivia, seeing the real, tangible difference his small actions had made, he understood something fundamental had shifted in him that day 3 weeks ago. Success wasn't just about what you accumulated or achieved for yourself. Real success, the kind that mattered in ways that would last, was about what you did for others, especially when it cost you something. Even if that something was just time and attention and willingness to see people you might otherwise ignore. Over the following months, Gabriel and Lauren developed an unlikely friendship. He became a mentor of sorts, helping her navigate the corporate world, offering advice on career development, and introducing her to contacts who could further her ambitions. She, in turn, kept him grounded, reminded him of realities beyond his privileged bubble, and showed him that resilience came in many forms. Olivia adopted Mr. Gabriel as an honorary uncle, drawing him pictures that he actually hung in his home office, inviting him to her daycare performances, asking him about his work with genuine curiosity. Gabriel found himself rethinking his priorities. He started volunteering at a local job training program for unemployed parents. He used his professional expertise to help people update their resumes, practice interviews, and navigate the job market. He made connections that led to real opportunities for people who have been written off by society. He thought often about that day in the cafe, about how close he had come to missing this entire experience. What if he had been just a little more firm in his refusal? What if Lauren had been too proud to ask in the first place? How many other moments of potential connection and transformation did he miss every day because he was too absorbed in his own concerns? Years later, when people asked Gabriel about the turning point in his life, when he had shifted from being a successful consultant to being someone who used his success to create opportunities for others, he would think back to that afternoon, a crowded cafe, a desperate mother, a hungry child, and a choice to see them not as an interruption to his important work, but as human beings worthy of kindness and dignity. It was such a small thing, really. Sharing a table, buying a meal, making a phone call. But small things, he had learned, could create ripples that extended far beyond their initial splash. One act of kindness had changed the lives directly and countless others indirectly as Lauren paid that kindness forward in her own ways. The world was full of Lauren and Olivias. People struggling against circumstances beyond their control, fighting to survive with dignity and hope. And the world was also full of people like Gabriel. People with resources and connections and the power to make a difference. If they chose to look up from their laptops and see the humanity all around them, the question was always the same. Would you share your table? Would you see the hunger, both literal and metaphorical, in the eyes of strangers? Would you choose connection over convenience, compassion over indifference? Gabriel had learned that answering yes to those questions, even when it was inconvenient or uncomfortable, was what transformed a successful life into a meaningful one. And that transformation, that shift from isolation to connection, from self-focus to community awareness, was the greatest success he had ever achieved. All because one day, in a cafe full of customers, a single mother found the courage to ask if her hungry daughter could sit at his table. And he, in a moment of grace he almost missed, said yes. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that small acts of kindness can create profound change in someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel for more stories about compassion and human connection. Leave a comment below about a time when someone showed you unexpected kindness during a difficult moment, or when you had the opportunity to help someone who was struggling. Your stories inspire us all to remember that we're all part of the same human family, and that the simple act of seeing each other with compassion can change everything.